Hello and welcome. This is Pure Heart Ministries YouTube channel, Evenings with Evangelist. I'm your host, Evangelist Patricia, where we talk about domestic violence and other subjects if you request them. Today we're going to be talking about what do you do if you have a friend that's in a domestic violence situation? What do you do if you have a friend that's in a domestic violence situation? So I'm going to give you some tips on what things you should do and a few things of what you should not do to be aware, okay? So the first thing that you would want to do if you have a friend that they tell you and you're aware that they are in a domestic violence situation is you should listen to them. Yes, listen to them, because sometimes someone may share with you that they are in that situation, but they're not ready to leave it just yet. You know, they're telling you what's going on, but they're still there. So you need to listen to them. They're confiding in you for a reason. And that kind of helps them as they're going along. Believe it or not, it helps them. So when you talk to them, you have to encourage them during your listening. Don't, say, well, girl, if I was you, I would leave him. Don't do that. Don't do that. It happens so many times, and I've heard it said plenty of times. But until you are in that situation, walking in someone else's shoes where you're being abused, you don't know what you would do. You don't know what you would do. So please do not say that to anyone who confides in you that they are in a domestic violence situation. What they need is someone to listen to them and hear them clearly. Hear them out. Sometimes that could just mean just being there for them. They need someone to vent to, not necessarily you giving them advice on what they should do, but just be a good listener for that friend that has came to you and confided in you what he or she is going through, okay? The next thing you want to do is respect them. Yes, you want to respect someone that's going through a domestic violence situation. For one, they're already dealing with the abuse. That's enough in itself. But you need to give them and show them respect on how they deal with their situation. Everybody is different. Each case of domestic violence is different. You may not deal with it the way I may have dealt with it. I may not deal with it the way the next woman deals with it. So everybody has their own way and their own timing, and you need to respect that. Don't say, well, if you don't leave him by Friday, we're not going to be friends anymore. Don't threaten a person with things because you want them to do something. Getting out of a domestic violence situation has to be up to the person. They have to get to the point where they are ready to leave, to get out of it. They also have to have a plan, so you can't just leave, as a lot of women are told. Just leave, girl, just leave. You can't just up and leave. It's dangerous when you do that. Okay, so it has to be well planned out ahead of time, step by step, so you know what you're going to do the day you decide to leave. You have to have money. You have to have somewhere to go. You have to make sure you have all of your documents that you need, your important documents to start over. If you have kids, you have to have school records, medical records. You have to have those things, so you can't just up and leave. Especially if he's controlling the finances and you don't have access to money. You don't have a key to the house, a key to the car, key to the mailbox. Okay, so 1, we want to listen to them. 2, we want to respect them. Another thing, and this might have been the first thing, when someone confides in you and tell you they are in a domestic violence situation, whether it's verbal abuse, mental, physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, believe them. Believe them. I don't care what you say. You never saw no bruises on them. She never talked about it. She never told anybody. She never called the police. She never went to the doctor, the emergency room, or anything like that. It does not matter. Believe them. If someone has told you they are in a situation, please believe them, because you may be the last person they talk to before something fatal happens to them. And then when the police come around asking, did anybody know Tracy was in a situation? You can say, well, yes, she did confide in me that she was in an abusive situation. She told me, but she didn't tell me a whole lot. But at least that will confirm for her with the police that she was telling the truth, that she was in that type of situation, although she didn't get help, or it may have been too late, before she tried to get help. So I ask you to believe anybody when they tell you that. And that even goes for sexual abuse. A lot of people confide to their parents, to their teachers, to friends, that they have been sexually abused. And a lot of times it's not taken seriously. It's not taken seriously. I have heard, survivors talk about how they told someone they were being abused and they were accused of lying. They were accused of lying. And that happens because families don't want to face the fact that it happens within families. Yes, it happens within families, and they don't want to believe it. You got the stepfather, you got the uncle, you got the mother, the cousin in them, and it's happening while you're leaving your kids here after school every day of the week, on the weekends. You don't know what's going on. It's happening. So when they tell you that they're being abused, please believe them. Please believe them, because if it was you, you would want somebody to believe you when you came out with your story and you decided you wanted to get help. Okay? So please believe somebody when they tell you they're being abused. When they confide in you, please listen to them. Respect them to deal with it how they want to deal with it. Not on your terms or your time, but their time and the way they want to handle it. Be there to support them, okay? Encourage them, okay? The next thing is, do not, I repeat, do not speak to the abuser. If it's your good girlfriend, your neighbor, and she comes over and confides in you, Tracy, Tommy's been beating me and all that, and you just decide in your mind you're going to go off on him. No, that's not the way to handle it. Do not speak to a victim's abuser. Okay? Do not. What that is going to do, if you do that, that's going to bring more harm to her. First of all, he's going to abuse her more for telling his business. Okay? He's going to abuse her more for telling his business. He's going to punish her for that. And then you may not see Tracy, and Tracy's just hypothetical, a name I'm using. You may not see Tracy for a while, and then you're going to wonder what happened to her, and more likely you're going to feel bad because you said something to him and he confronted her about it, and then he punished her for it, okay? Abusers don't like to be told on. They don't like to be told on. They want to keep it to themselves, keep it in the house. That's why so many women go so long enduring the abuse, because we do not tell. We do not tell. We don't confide in nobody. We keep it to ourselves. Well, I'm going to deal with it. He's going to get better. He bought me a nice shirt. He bought me some flowers. He didn't hit me in 2 days. No. We need to confide in somebody. Somebody you can trust specifically. Somebody you can trust. If you have a best friend, a family member, a clergy member, social worker, counselor, because teens go through domestic abuse as well. So if it's for a teen, they will go to the school counselor and confide in the counselor. Then, of course, the counselor will contact the parents and let them know what's going on, because a lot of kids cannot talk to their parents because they don't listen. They don't listen. A lot of parents talk at their kids, but not to their kids. Parents need to get to the point where they sit down with their kids and make them so comfortable that they can come to them and tell them anything, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. Okay? So when that person comes to you, believe them, listen to them, respect them. Do not speak to the abuser. Do not. You're making it worse for that person if you go to the neighbor's house and speak to the abuser, or give them a piece of your mind and tell them what you think, they are, and what you're going to do if they put their hands on her again and things like that. Don't do that. That's not going to help her. That's not going to help her, okay? So moving on, the next thing we can do is encourage them. If Tracy confided in you that she's being abused, you need to encourage her. Remind Tracy, first of all, it's not your fault. It's never your fault for anyone, to put their hands on you for no reason. I don't care what it is, what has happened. It's never okay, and it's never the victim's fault. It's never your fault. Don't blame yourself for what someone is doing to you. Don't blame yourself. And I know sometimes we may say, well, I allowed it. When you get out, looking back, hindsight 2020, you say, well, I allowed that. Excuse me. And that's okay, because when you're in it, you don't see it. When you're in it, you don't see it. But if she's still in it and she confides in you, she needs somebody to encourage her. Let her know you're going to be there for her. Talk to her about it in quiet places, where you can get her to talk about what's going on, because that's going to help her again at some point when she decides she have had enough and she's ready to get out. And then when she goes to court or whatever, and they, ask her, have you reported it? Have you told anyone? You will be her witness to tell what she has confided in you. And that's very key in her getting help, in her getting a protective order, in her getting a restraining order, in her abuser getting jail time. Okay? So encourage her. Let her know you're there to listen to her. Whenever she wants to talk, let her know she can call on you for help if she needs it. Now, when I say help, that means being there for her. Not to say you can go over her house and beat her abuser up or anything like that. When I say help, I mean supportive type help. When she needs someone to talk to, when he's not there, or, he may not realize she's telling you anything. So if he allows her to go to your house, she needs that support. She needs you to be there for her. Let her know you're here for her. I support you in whatever you need me to do. If you just need me to listen, if you just want to talk to me, if you want me go to the police with you, go to the hospital with you, or anything like that. Let her know that you are there to support her. You're not there to hinder her. You're not there to put her down. Okay? Another thing you can do if you know someone that's in a domestic violence situation is discuss strategies and safety for them. Strategies and safety. And when I say safety, I'm talking about make them aware of the neighborhood shelters, the shelters in your city or county, wherever you live at. Make her aware of safety plans, how to plan to get out. Again, as I said before, when you're in a domestic violence situation, you can't just up tomorrow morning and say, I'm out of here, I'm going to leave. Sometimes some women get that, I can't think of the word I want to use, get the opportunity to just up and leave. And it can happen. But at the same time, they still have to have somewhere to go. You still have to have money and different things like that, what you need to move on once you've left. Make her aware of what services in the county are available to her. You can call the 1-800 hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-SAFE, and find out what resources are available in your county. They will tell you, they will refer you to different numbers. Also be aware of the hotlines. Some places have hotlines you can call where you can remain anonymous, because a lot of times people don't want to tell who they are or give their name. So you can stay anonymous and call and report a situation, okay? And one other thing you can do is remind the victim that she is not to blame. Assure them, reassure them that it's not her fault. You've done nothing wrong. Tell them what you've learned about domestic violence, and that's going to help her to have some reassurance in her safety, okay? If you know someone that's going through it, you need to educate yourself. whether you go on the internet and just look up information and read about it. What is domestic violence? What does it consist of? How does it happen? Why does it happen? What do you do if you're in this situation? What do you do if you're trying to get out of this situation? As a friend of somebody in that situation, what should I do? So these are all things that you need to know, but at the same time, assuring your friend that she's not to blame. And when you share with her, you know, Tracy, I read about someone in a domestic violence situation and she made a plan and she didn't get out right away, but after 2 months, she was able to leave unharmed. Make her feel safe that you have looked this information up and now you're sharing it with her. That's going to give her confidence and strength to be able to work on herself to get to the point where she's going to say, I had enough. I'm ready to make a plan because I want to get out of this. I love my life and I want to be here. If she has kids, I want to be here to see my kids grow up or whatever. So assure her that she is not to blame no matter what, regardless of what has happened, what he has said she has done is still never her fault. So reassure her she's not to blame. Again, going back, believe them when they tell you, listen to them, respect them as they go through the process of continuing to deal with it until they get to the point they decide to get out. Do not speak to the abuser, as that will cause her more harm and danger and could ultimately cost her her life. And you definitely don't want that on your conscience, okay? Do not speak to her abuser. Encourage her to get help. Don't encourage her to do not ignore the problem. Don't ignore the problem. Don't ignore the fact that you're going through this type of thing. Discuss safety plans and safety issues with her. Resources, shelters, safe places, services in the county, hotlines. And lastly, but not least, do not blame her or him for what they're going through. Do not blame them. They need help and support at this time while they're enduring. So be there to support them and just be a good friend, because if it was turned the other way, I think anybody would want the same thing for themselves. If they were going through, they would want somebody to support them and just understand what they're going through, not to rush them to get out because you want to be safe about it. Most of the times when women or people try to get out of domestic violence situation is when it's heightened, and that's when more danger can come, and even sometimes women lose their lives because the man will say, if I can't have you, nobody will, and he will end up killing you and then kill himself. Okay? So we don't want that on our hands. We want you to get out safe. We want you to get out unharmed, and we want you to get out in a reasonable amount of time. Okay? So you have to have a plan. Make sure you've done all those things, and then you work on getting out. But again, if you have a friend that can help you, that's always good, because somebody can, be there to keep an eye out for you or whatever, or, make sure you have your bag of clothes. You can leave at your neighbor's house. If you have kids, have a bag for the kids at the house. Get your important documents and put in a plastic box so you can have those things when you leave, when you exit. Get a prepaid debit card to put money on so you can have access to money for yourself and your children. Get important documents. Get, if you have a mailbox, get an extra mailbox key. Get an extra set of car keys, or get your car key changed, or the door key, whatever you need to do. Okay? So I hope these tips have helped you. And if it's not for you, if you can share them with someone else, please share this broadcast. Please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. It is Pure Heart Ministries. Okay, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you will know every time I do a video. I set to do a video every Saturday. Okay, so I thank you for joining today. And as always, keep your heart pure, and thank you for watching.